And welcome back, and it is the 7th of April, further Maths 5 a day, and let's just go straight with the first question. Okay, so we have a nice Surds question. Now I'm going to assume this is a non-calculator question, because it seems fair enough. The 112 might be a bit trickier, but we should be able to get there by using various techniques. So let's not touch the calculator, and let's see what we can do. So I'm going to write them down here. So 700, but actually no, I'm going to write them over here, and then put it back over here. So 700 is equal to 100 times 7. So I might be doing that a bit in my head. I know the square of 100 is 10, so this is the same as 10 root 7. So that's not too bad. 28. Now, as soon as I've got a minus, I'm thinking I must have a root 7 here. So there's a bit of a clue. So 28 is 4 times 7. Let's write out the bit in between. So 4 times 7. Square root of 4 is 2, so I know this is 2 root 7. This one's a bit harder, so you may not know. So let's pretend we don't know. So 112 prime factors is 2. 112 divided by 2 is 56, and 56 is the same as 7 times 8, and 8 is 2 times 2 times 2. So in other words, I can say that 112 is equal to 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 7. I've got that 7 again. One pair of 2's, one pair of 2's. So for each pair of 2's, take a 2 to the outside. In other words, I'm square rooting, which is 4, because 2 times 2 is 4. That's going to be 4 root 7, which means this all simplifies down to 10 root 7 minus 2 root 7 over 4 root 7, which is, well, 10 minus 2 is 8 root 7, and 4 root 7. Root 7's cancel, 8 divided by 4 is 2, so my final answer here is 2. Wow, that wasn't too bad at all, was it? Next question. Okay, so we have a fairly reasonable solve the simultaneous equations question. This again could be a GCSE question, but either way, let's just get it done properly. So this implies use my non-linear to put it into my, or use my linear to put it into my non-linear. So therefore y is equal to 1 minus x. Now, as an aside, that's a circle around 0, and this is symmetrical. In other words, x and y form a, I've only got one x and one y, is what I'm trying to say badly. So I know my answers are also going to be symmetrical. So I'll show you what I mean when I get to the end. Either way, let's put this into here. Well, let's try and do it in one go, because I think we can probably square and do it in one turn, can't we? So that's going to give me x squared plus, well, 1 minus x squared is 1 minus 2x plus x squared. Then I'm going to bring the 13 over, so minus 13, and all that's equal to 0. If you weren't quite sure about that, pause the video, check you're okay with what I've done. Having done that, in an exam, just be careful of doing too much. I teach further maths at school, and I teach some really clever students. And I will say, general problem is the cleverest students tend to miss steps out and make silly errors. So having just done exactly what I've told you not to do be careful of trying to do too many things in one go. Either way, let's collect. So that's going to be 2x squared minus 2x minus 12 is equal to 0. Well, I can simplify this, can't I? That's going to be x squared minus x minus 6 equals 0, which is equal to x minus 3 x plus 2, which means that x is either equal to minus 2 or x is equal to 3. Now, let's go back to the original equation here. If x is equal to minus 2, then y is equal to 1 minus minus 2, which is 1 plus 2, which means that y is equal to 3. Equally, if x is equal to 3, then y equals 1 minus 3, which is minus 2, which means my answer is going to be minus 2, 3, or 3 minus 2. And remember, right at the start, I said, because this is a 1y and 1x, I'm going to get some mirroring in the answers. And you can see these two answers that are switched around of each other, which I didn't know what the numbers were going to be, but I knew should be the case. So a little tip just to look out for. Next question. AB is the diameter of the circle C, Q is the centre of the circle, A has coordinates, B has coordinates. Find the centre of Q. Okay, this sounds all right, doesn't it? So quick sketch. Always draw a sketch. I know the temptation is just to jump in, but just helps you map it out in your mind. So that's Q, weirdly. Don't know why they've gone with Q. A I'm going to put here, which is minus 7, 1. So let's call that A. And B I'm going to put here, which is 1, 7. Which means the centre is going to be the midpoint, which is going to be minus 7 plus 1 over 2. In other words, half the x values. And then half the y values is 1 plus 7 over 2. Minus 7 plus 1 is minus 6 over 2, which is minus 3. And 1 plus 7 is 8. Divided by 2 is 4. So the centre is minus 3, 4. Okay, Next bit, find the equation of the tangent to C at the point B. Now, I've drawn this badly, so it's not going to be a nice straight upward line because the way I've drawn it, but just so you know where I'm drawing my tangent. So this is a normal question we've seen a few times before, isn't it? So I need the equation, the gradient of the radius, negative reciprocal, and then the equation of the line through the point with a negative reciprocal gradient. Let's do that step by step. Now, it must be the case that the gradient of the radius is the same as the gradient of the diameter. So I can actually just use A and B. So A goes from 1 to 7, which is up 6. And it goes from minus 7 to 1, which is up 8, which I can simplify down to 3/4, which means the gradient of my tangent is the negative reciprocal, which is minus 4/3. Now, I want the equation of the line with the gradient minus 4/3 that goes through 1, 7. So in other words, y, I'm going to use a y equals mx plus c method. So y equals minus 4x plus c. And I'm going to use 1, 7. In fact, I have to use 1, 7 because I want it to go through the point B. So that means that 7 equals minus 4/3 times 1, which is minus 4/3, plus c, which means that c equals 7 plus 4/3, which is 21/3, plus 4/3, which is 25/3. So that means the answer to my question is y is equal to minus 4/3, sorry, pen being funny, minus 4/3x plus 25/3. And that's it. Question done. I was about to say question done today, but there's another one down below, isn't there? So next question. P is the point on the curve, gives me a curve. The tangent to the curve at P is a gradient of 1. Work out the coordinates of P. Okay, so we've seen one like this before, haven't we? So if you see the word gradient, if nothing else, get 2 marks by differentiating. 1 mark for differentiating, 1 mark for differentiating correctly. I know the tangent, so not the normal, but the tangent has gradient 1, which means that this is equal to 1, which means that x is equal to, well, 1 plus 7 is 8, divided by 2 is 4. And now I know what x is. Y at the value 4 is equal to 16, 4 squared, minus 7 times 4, which is 28, which is minus 12. So therefore, the answer to the question is P has coordinates 4, minus 12. And that is today done. I'm going to stop saying good mix of questions. No, I'm not, because I'm going to keep saying it. It's a good mix of questions today. That circle question wasn't too bad, sort of a nice twist on one we've seen before. I do like the Surds question. We haven't seen Surds in a while. Let me know how it went for you. Like, subscribe. See you tomorrow.